let's have a look at it. This is what the, hey, you know what, let's just go live and hope that we don't break stuff, okay? And as you know, it's always difficult giving demos because normally everything works up to the time that you actually check it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and mirror for, you can set it up, right? The mirror time is set up here, 60 seconds, and a test depth of 4 levels within the mirror. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just as to show you how it works, and please, it's not a hack against anyone, right? It's just doing a mirror of the site and extracting the directories. So I'm going to look at HITBSecConf2005 and I'm going to let this thing run at this side, and it's now basically doing the mirror for 60 seconds. You can set it to mirror as long as you want, of course. And then from the content that it gets back, it's going to extract the directory structure from there, right, that they're running. While it's doing that, we can quickly go here. I can show you this is the backend database. So basically what we're going to do, the backend database, the backend miner, basically what it's doing here is checking for all of these directories over here, right? And if it finds a directory in here, it's going to check for these files in there with these extensions. Now what we've built is, we built a little button over here that says update from SensePost. And you click on there, you get different categories, right? Standard, quick, and full. I'm just going to go for standard. And if I click on this here, it basically updates those directories and files that we're going to look for. So if we find something that we think is nice and you should have it as well, we populate some file that says on a website on our site. Where you click on that button, then it basically pulls that information. Okay, so it can kind of keep you updated with that. On this side, you'll see now, one of the things that it also does is it looks for links external to that site, which is always interesting, right? If you know that they link to someone else, that they could show on a relationship. So you see here, there's a whole lot of sites that these guys link to, cnn.co.jp. Those are just external links from that site. I just give it because it's interesting to see. And on this side, you have a list of directories that could be extracted from the actual site itself, from that mirror that we've done. Okay, so it's quite a lot, right? See interesting things, audio, radio, all of that. Okay. On the banner side, that site reports itself only as Apache, but with using HTTP, screwed up, print. We know that it's in the 2.0.x family of servers. That's what Samuel and the guys from NetSquare is telling us. On the backend side, we can look at a machine that I have as a VMware machine here called intranet.sensepost.net. You would see that it's now going through all of the directories there, okay, at a rather quick pace. I'm going to stop it right there. You'd see that it has /admin in blue, right? If it's in blue, it means that it's indexable as well. And then it also found /admin/backup. So if we look at the site itself, we can go to admin, and we find that it is indeed indexable. Oh, and we find that there's a backup directory with a file called bigdeal.html, which is a secret file. Okay. Right. We can go to the Googler itself as well. Let's do the same thing over here. It works with the Google API. I'm going to put in the fact that it should look for HTML, ASP, PL, PHP, CGI, ASPX, and so forth and so on. And if we run, so if we look at the site itself, we can go to admin, and we find that it is indeed indexable. Oh, and we find that there's a backup directory with a file called bigdeal.html, which is a secret file. Okay. Right. We can go to the Googler itself as well. Let's do the same thing over here. It works with the Google API. I'm going to put in the fact that it should look for HTML, ASP, PL, PHP, CGI, ASPX, and so forth and so on. And if we run through there, it's using the Google API, and it found all of these results over here, right? And as soon as it finds the results, this is for HTML and HTML. It populates this list over here. Okay, you get the idea, right? What's nice about this is, of course, if I go back to this, to my backend miner, I can now say import the directories from the mirror, and immediately at the end of this, it would import all of the directories that it found on CNN. If I now start running this process, it will immediately start looking for all of these directories within those directories as well. You understand why it's interesting, right? On the Googler side of things, if we go down here, okay, that's the API not working from Google side. But you see here's a lot of PDFs. Here's, in fact, some doc files. You'd be surprised at what people put on their machines that gets indexed someday by Google. Okay, and at the end we also have the Google hacks. You can load the database, and that's the Google hack database basically sitting down here. On the system config side of things, on the system side of the system config side of things, you can update the Nikto database and update the Google hack database right there. Just clicking on that button, and then it updates by itself. With Victo, I can load that database, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it against that VMware machine of mine, and let's put this in as /scripts. Okay, and you can see there it's running, and there's the requests coming back. Okay, there's the track trace thing that you also always see within Nikto itself. I'm going to close that. I'm going to go on with the presentation because I think time is not a lot. Okay, you've seen all of this, right? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is a thing called Crowbar. How much time do I have, by the way? I'm not sure. 15 minutes. Ooh. 20 minutes? Ooh. Okay, we started a bit late, but okay, I'm going to run through this as quick as possible, so I won't give you a demo of this. Basically, on the brute force, Crowbar is a brute force attack tool that basically does generic web application bruting. Okay. At the moment, we're stuck with things that try to be too smart in terms of a brute forcing tool. So it tries to extract the fields and it lets you populate those fields. And I said, I don't want to do that. So basically what we have here is a thing that on this side at the top, you put in your actual request as it appears, right, the actual HTTP request. And you set up a whole lot of different parameters here. You can have an inner loop and an outer loop, so you can brute force two parameters at the same time. And in this case, the only thing that I did was here going to google.com and going to the answers page for the FAQ page. Now, all of them has got a little index, right? It's got an index that says it goes to answers.py, which is probably Python. Question mark, and the parameter that we pass along is answer, right? And I've said with answer, basically run that from 15,000 to 16,000, and let's see what comes out. And I can do some content extraction over there with a start token and an end token, and Crowbar will show me the stuff that's sitting in between, right? So basically here you see that it's run through all of these with the number, and the token extraction gives you the question, and that's the answer for that particular FAQ. Now this is one way you can use it. Another way you can use it is by, for instance, doing a brute force attack. Like in this case, this is access to our chat room that we have on our site. You'll see it goes to a certain IP address. It's got an action called login. It's got a name that says test and a password. And my password I now read from a list of passwords, right? This thing, this ##1##, could be sitting anywhere within this whole thing. It could be sitting in the cookie, could be sitting in what I request, could be even sitting in the content let if you really want to do that, right? And basically what's happened now is the same algorithms that we use for comparing content between requests within Wikto is used in here as well. And we have a base response that you build up, and from there everything is measured against this base response. The content is measured on here. So we don't have to know what a positive actually is, right? We don't have to know what a screen looks like when a login has succeeded, because the content of a login that succeeded will differ significantly from our base response. And this fuzzy logic triggers we can control on this side. Basically says, make it equal to this, make it not equal to this, show me everything, show me things that are within this high and low, show me stuff that's outside of this high and low watermarks, right? And here you can easily see that after a bit, we got this password, this pin cracked on SensePost with the username of test and a password of blah. Okay, so it's a very generic web brute forcing tool, and you can brute force two parameters at the same time. I've got a demo of this as well for this site, but I suspect that we're going to run out of time in a big way. Okay, so I'm not going to show it. I'm rather going to go on. What do you prefer? Going on with the presentation? We got the application level stuff coming up, or would you rather go for the demo? Demo? Hands for the demo. Hands for the demo. Okay, hands. Sure. Hands for the continuing to application level stuff. Okay, there's more for that. So I'm going to go on. We can do the demo afterwards if you want to. Okay, it's really easy. All right. Now, on an application level, that's anything that resides on top of the web server, right? And it's anything that talks to a database or that kind of thing. So normally that's your homegrown application that runs on top of it. And it's difficult to fix it because, and we talked about this, you can't download a patch for it. I've seen many guys when we show them difficulty within the problems within their web application go, okay, where's the patch? I go, well, there's no patch. Speak to your developers. Firewalls is useless, okay? You have 80 going through. If the firewall is not application aware, and most firewalls are not application aware, your firewall is useless. Your IDS is almost useless. If it's SSL, it's even more useless, okay, because it's encrypted. It's very difficult to detect an attack on an application, even on an application level. So very little applications are aware that they are being attacked. Okay, you have these applications frequently talking to databases, and databases, as we know, contains interesting information. We also find that these databases and application servers, if there's a staging between application and front end, are located within internal networks. So if we can break something in there and get commands to execute, we are actually executing on the inner perimeter of the network, right? Outside of the DMZ. And traditionally, developers and security administrators are not good friends. So what's the kind of attacks that we do? System level. I'm not going to go through this because I expect everyone here to know these things. Okay, you have file system and directory traversal attacks, command execution, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, impersonation attacks, parameter parsing. All of these things are things that we can test for. Now, what's the difficulty in writing a web application scanner? Well, first as we can, but it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because maybe the first link that you mirror is the logout button. So what happens is you log yourself out as soon as you start mirroring, and the rest of the application, because the session ID doesn't live anymore, is now gone. Right? You have forms that keep on repeating, like a calendar. Right? You click on the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and 2 weeks later you come in there, and this thing is like, you know, in the year 9000, and it's still mirroring that application. Right? You have problems in that certain sections of the application might be hidden until you provide correct parameters. Right? You also have the problem